Judge Bryan. Thank you to you and your families for your willingness to continue to serve our nation. I also now have to run and vote. Wanted to make sure the chairman got to get there and vote, but I briefly am going to engage with President Biden's nominee to serve as the Intellectual Property Enforcement Coordinator. Deborah Robinson is uniquely qualified to serve in this role, and I'm grateful that you're willing to step forward and contribute to this. This is a position I had a hand in helping strengthen and fund, and I have been anxious, eager for there to be a confirmed person leading our intellectual property enforcement. And I'm going to submit for the record a wonderful letter of strong endorsement of your qualifications that has dozens of organizations listed on it, but I will briefly reference the Copyright Alliance, the Motion Picture Association, the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, and Universal Music Group. So even at a time when they are sharply divided on some other issues, they were able to agree that you would be a great nominee for this position. One of the areas I'm particularly concerned about is making sure that we are striking the right balance. We are next Wednesday going to have a broad conversation with IP leaders and innovators from across a wide range of fields that will include a SAG-AFTRA representative and the head of the Motion Picture Association. I'm about to release a proposal that would protect individuals against unauthorized AI reproductions of their voice, name, image, likeness. And I would love to ask you about how Congress should balance these rights, but I know you are not yet in a position to, and that the IPEC does not make policy. You are well trained in that answer, well briefed and well prepared for this hearing. How would you in this role ensure that the agencies of the federal government who have a relevant IP role all have a seat at the table and contribute to shaping our policy, particularly in such a contentious and fast-moving area as the intersection of AI and copyright?
First, thank you for your nice comments. I appreciate that, Senator. And one of the roles of the IPEC is to coordinate. And so if I'm so confirmed and I become the IPEC, the first priority I would have is to go to each of the relevant agencies and the stakeholders and to ask about what their challenges are, ask about what they're seeing, what their data is, get all the information that I could so that I wouldn't be coordinating in sort of a whole, so that I have all the information that is available to me, and also lean on the relevant departments like Office of Science and Technology Policy, and then come up with a strategic plan that coordinates all the efforts of these individual agencies and so that they complement each other in what they're doing.
That's music to my ears. I look forward to seeing you move swiftly in that direction. I came here from a global manufacturing company where, as in-house counsel, I had to deal with a trade secret theft episode where there was no right of private action to seek redress. And literally the individual raced out of our plant with it was almost like a movie, like with a laptop full of secrets, and ran to the airport and got on a plane to China. Senator Orrin Hatch and I worked tirelessly and ultimately got the Defend Trade Secrets Act signed into law a number of years later. It is important to me that at a time when there seems to be bipartisan agreement that protecting American invention and innovation should be a high priority, that we do our best at that. Online piracy is a particular concern to me as well, and it's estimated to cost $30 billion in lost revenue and nearly 250,000 jobs a year. The UK, Australia, and the EU use no-fault injunctions to combat digital piracy. If I were somehow magically successful in getting that remedy available here in the United States, as I think it should be, would no-fault injunctions help empower the IPEC and help empower our intellectual property protection efforts?
Consistent with what I've been saying before is that the IPEC doesn't create law or policy, but what I do care about is protecting American innovation and creativity. And so if no-fault injunctions were available, I would use that like I would use every other resource that would come to me, either from agencies, stakeholders, or the like, to come up with a plan and facilitate that plan to enforce against any infringements out there.
One of the other things you talked about with Senator Welch was the importance of protecting our nation and our people from counterfeit pharmaceuticals. We have one of the safest drug supplies in the world, but I have lived and worked in places in the developing world where as much as 30% of the pharmaceuticals available for sale are in fact counterfeit, which is both dangerous and heartbreaking in countries where access to modern medicine is a challenge. What do you view as the biggest challenge in curtailing counterfeit goods, and how would you focus your efforts on addressing that problem?
One of the biggest challenges is China right now. And how I would focus with China or otherwise, and with any other infringement coming from any other country, is to work with the foreign-facing agencies and support what they're doing currently, but also work with the foreign-facing agencies as they use the programs that they have with international partners to prevent counterfeits, hopefully, from coming into the country in the first place.
One of the big challenges I would argue we face is that now in the digital marketplace, there's really no incentive for online platforms to be as thorough and vigorous as they could be at ensuring that there's no transactions or sales on their platforms of counterfeit goods. Senator Tillis and I are soon going to reintroduce our Shop Safe Act that would provide very targeted incentives to the online platforms to make sure that third-party sellers of goods are respecting IP rights. Thank you. Thank you, Judge Lee. Thank you, Judge Bryan. Thank you, Ms. Robinson, for your willingness to serve. I look forward to a positive vote on all of you getting out of this committee and to the Senate floor, and God willing, being confirmed at some point later this year. And I appreciate your patience, and I too now must go vote. Before I adjourn, a quick logistical note. Questions for the record for members of this committee are due to the nominees by 5 p.m. on Wednesday, September 13th, and the record will remain open until that time to submit records such as letters or similar materials. Thank you very much. With that, this hearing is adjourned.